Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Silverstone for the second race of the weekend for the Ginetta G40 Cup and the Ginetta Racing Drivers Club here at Silverstone on the magnificent Silverstone Grand Prix circuit in bright and sunny conditions here this afternoon. We've been really fortunate with the weather today, whilst a lot of the country have been soaked this weekend. We had our fair share of rain yesterday morning, but since then things have been much more pleasant, and we've got a big grid of identical Ginetta G40s lining themselves up here on the grid ahead of 20 minutes of racing action here. That is the pole man, Martin Wills, Martin Wills, who was second in the Chairman's Cup Championship, arriving here at Silverstone. He took some points out of his big championship rival Roy Alderslade, the points leader, in the first race, which took place yesterday, and that was mighty close with Rob Keogh and Chris Salkeld taking the first couple of positions. But this second race of the weekend, it's second fastest qualifying times that will set the grid, and that means that Salkeld starts ahead of Keogh on this one. Salkeld will be on row 2, Rob Keogh down in 8th place on the grid, but the two of them were separated by just 0.4 of a second at the flag, with Alistair Barkley third. Roy Alderslade won the cup element of the race, down in 6th position overall, and then second in cup was Gary Wager, and third for Robin Grimwood. So the Cup cars mixed in amongst the Ginetta G40 Cup machine. Sorry, there's a Cup class, then there's the G40 Cup, which is rather confusing, if you see what I mean. But the front runners racing in the G40 Cup. And Rob Keogh was the race winner earlier on, second in the points behind Alistair Barkley, who's the championship leader. So a bit like we saw with Roy Alderslade and Martin Wills further back, the points leader not finishing quite as high as their nearest rivals. So the gap's coming down slightly across both of the classes. And yeah, this should be a very entertaining race indeed. So the field make their way out onto the green flag lap then, around this 3.66 mile Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, and this is the order in which they will do that. Martin Wills is on the pole position by virtue of his second fastest lap time in qualifying, being quicker than anybody else's. Alistair Barkley is second. Chris Salkeld and Roy Alderslade will be on row number 2 together, and row 3 for Daniel Morris and Giles Dawson. Row number 4 then, we have got Julian Watling, and Rob Keogh, the race 1 winner, looking to try and make some progress from a slightly loaded grid position. Daniel Smith and Lee Goldsmith are on the 5th row of the grid together, and then just outside the top 10 on row number 6, Robin Grimwood and Andy Marshall. 7th row for Ian Duggan and Bill Forbes, car number 6 there, and the 8th row of the grid is where we find Dewey Thompson and Gary Wager. So Gary Wager, another that should make some progress. Sean Fleming is next, ahead of Vince Caldecott, and rounding out the top 20, Charlotte Birch and John Wall. Next row of the grid, Michael Kidson has Craig Cornick for company on the 11th row. Well, I promised you was a mammoth grid. We've got Mark SANSOM next and Toby Trice on the 12th row. Chris THREADGEL and Chris White are on row number 13, with Neil Wallace and Mark Lee making up the 14th row. Rounding out the top 30 cars, and we're not even at the back yet, are Harry Mangian and Harry Ormerod. Mark Allin and Ignacio Zanon are next in line on row number 16. Paolo Scripo and Nigel Fox are the next two to share a row, and indeed that is the back of this 36 car grid, and we'll see lots of battles, no doubt, up and down the order in this one. Should be a fascinating race. So the field make their way past the Silverstone wing into Abbey Corner. You can tell we're at the end of a long day of racing, because there's an awful lot of discarded rubber there on the outside of that quick right-hander. And if you run wide onto that, if you miss your apex, or you're running side by side with somebody through particularly the high-speed corners, that's what you're driving on. And surprisingly enough, that doesn't really yield a huge amount of grip. So we'll watch out for that, particularly in the early laps. Those who get shuffled out wide may lose more than one position, because they get sideways, they get dirt on their tyres, and because the tyres get hot and sticky, they pick up the marbles and the dust and the dirt that's offline, and it's hard to get rid of it. So number 44 then, Martin Wills on the pole position, and he is looking, if he can get it, for another good result here. Martin Wills second, as I said, in the Chairman's Cup Championship behind Roy Alderslade. which is what the Cup is on my grid sheet, which confused me earlier on. So the Chairman's Cup is therefore being led by Roy Alderslade, who was the highest place finisher in that one as well. So Martin Wills looking to try and take some points out of him in this if he can. But yeah, Martin Wills, car number 44 then, starting from the pole position. And this is almost a bit like a reverse grid really, because Rob Keogh, the race 1 winner, is starting in 8th. So we've got some quick drivers most definitely looking to come from further back. Now, why is Martin Wills waving the marshals over to him? He pulled up before it even slowed down. He was waving at the marshals, and they're leaning into the car. There's a problem, it would appear, therefore, for our pole sitter. And that's not good news, because he was really hoping to take advantage of this clean air. There's clearly an issue. Now, I can't, and my sign language isn't that great, and I can't see exactly what the problem is there, but I wonder whether we might be heading towards a delayed start, because there's clearly some sort of an issue with the 44 Ginetta. And, oh, yeah, there we go. The question was answered. Are you okay to race? The thumb came up. So whatever the issue is, either it's resolved itself or he's decided that he's still okay to race. We've got a gap on the 3rd row as well, haven't we, where is it Daniel Morris or Giles Dawson are missing? I think it might have been possibly Morris. Yeah, Morris isn't there. So Daniel Morris from 5th on the grid, number 31, has gone missing on the green flag lap as well, or potentially wasn't out there in the first place. So some sorts, quite a few problems here for the a few of the front runners. Daniel Morris finished 4th in yesterday's race and was due to line up 1 place further back than that on the grid for this one. Right, finally the field is in order, and we're ready to go racing in the Ginetta G40 Cup and the Ginetta Racing Drivers Club. 20 minutes of action around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit gets underway with a good start made by Alistair Barkley, 3rd place in yesterday's race, 2nd on the grid for this one, but he was on the inside line, had his nose in front, and number 99 will lead them into Copse Corner. Chris Salkeld was trying to come into 2nd position up the inside of Martin Willis. They're three abreast behind already. The GRDC element of the grid, by the way, will have a delayed start. They're just being released now, and they will have an entirely separate race behind this lot, the G40 Cup. There they go. And from the inside of row 1, Craig Cornick, I think, in the vaguely Gulf liveried car, has managed to snatch the race lead, I think, away from Michael Kidson, but we'll pick that up again later on around the opening lap. There is a straggler. Oh, that is Daniel Morris. So Daniel Morris, number 31, was, we have to assume, a pit lane starter then. We know not why. The order at the front of the field then, it's 99 Alistair Barkley, from 11 Chris Salkeld, then the black and purple fronted car looking to the outside line towards Stowe Corner. So they've dropped Martin Wills now. He's fallen back into about 4th or 5th position by the looks of it. Through Stowe Corner they go, and a better exit is made there, most definitely by Salkeld, and Chris Salkeld, 2nd in the previous race, wants to get on with this before his sparring partner from yesterday's race, Rob Keogh, arrives on the scene. Rob, no doubt, will be trying to make progress on the order. I think that's him in 4th position, but Salkeld might lose 2nd place here, because that was a really nifty move made up the inside line. Now, I couldn't quite see the number on that car, but that was some opportunistic driving there on the first part of Club Corner. Giles Dawson, that looks to be, number 95, who has elbowed his way up the inside, but it was a perfectly legitimate move. He's got the inside line for Abbey as well, and as I suggested on the opening lap, you don't want to be on those marbles, and look at that, running wide onto the marbles, sideways therefore goes Chris Salkeld, and he could lose 3rd position as well, because Rob Keogh is indeed in the orange and black car going up the inside line. Is he going to get into 3rd position? Yes, he will, and it goes from bad to worse to even worse now for Chris Salkeld. He goes back up the inside line, sick of losing places. He tried to regain one, but it didn't work. Loses momentum, and Roy Alderslade there in the white, orange and green number 7 car comes charging around the outside, and I think he's going to go through and possibly bring number 14, Daniel Smith, the 2nd of the orange cars in that pack, with him. Well, breathless stuff on the opening lap then, but at the head of the field, it is Alistair Barkley who leads the way. Giles Dawson, who finished 5th in yesterday's race, started 6th in this one, but he's into 2nd place already by the end of the opening lap. Salkeld, the big loser, he's managed to get back in front of Roy Alderslade, though. Roy Alderslade, the Cup winner, the Chairman's Cup winner in race number 1, and points leader, as I said. So he is, oh, we've got problems there. That is 133, unfortunately, that's had a moment. And that car off and beached in the gravel with quite a bit of damage as well. That's Neil Wallace. Oh, with 2 cars involved. So, yeah, so his car is the one that's on the circuit. There is another car in the gravel trap, and that, I'm afraid, might require our first safety car visit of the day. We've gone all day long without a safety car being scrambled. With 2 cars off in a precarious position. I wonder whether that might change. Well, we've gone on to the second lap of the race anyway, with Alistair Barkley leading the way, Giles Dawson in second place, but Rob Keogh here applying the pressure to the 95 car, trying to find a way into second place, and the safety car is going to stop him in his tracks, I think, because it's being scrambled, unsurprisingly. He's trying to make the move, and they will race until they see a safety car board. Safety car boards will not necessarily go out at every marshal's post at the same time, but he's backed right off now. Rob Keogh didn't quite get that move made in time, and so Giles Dawson rather let off the hook there. It looked almost certain that he was about to lose second place. Safety car comes out and saves him. Well, we got to the penultimate race of the day before we had our first safety car interlude. And that's not really good news for Alistair Barkley, who was further extending what was already a 1 second margin at the start of the lap. He'd taken nearly a full second out of Giles Dawson in the first sector alone. There's Neil Wallace. This is what happened to Neil Wallace, and we'll try and figure out with whom he got tangled. Wallace is the white and blue striped car, goes on the inside of the other white and blue number 111 car. He gets sideways, and clattered into at unabated speed by another, but we couldn't quite see the number still. 111 that he was trying to overtake was Ignacio Zanon, who had gained some ground from down on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th row of the GRDC grid. But I didn't quite spot the number. Who didn't come through? 188 didn't come through, Mark Allin. So we have to assume it was Mark Allin that made pretty substantial contact there with Neil Wallace's 133. And they both end up off the road. Wallace stricken on the track, Allin in the gravel trap. So the safety car has to be called for, so the marshals, who have done a splendid job all weekend, by the way, of helping us to avoid safety car periods. We've had the live snatch in progress here, which means that they can send the live snatch vehicle out under racing conditions, or just under yellow flag conditions, to get the cars out of the way. But the marshals have had to do their fair bit of cleaning up as well, and they've done a great job, as always. The volunteer marshals, the Orange Army as they're affectionately called, some of the best marshals in the world, and they once again have, I was going to say, earned their money today, but they do not get paid. They are volunteer marshals. They do it for the love of the sport. Yes, they get a ringside seat, but they also play a vital role in keeping these race meetings going, and we thank them all. The GRDC element of the race, by the way, being led by number 171, which is Michael Kidson, who I think is the orange and grey car we can see coming through Brooklands there. Yes, it is. And behind him, that Gulf liveried car of Craig Cornick, which did appear to get the lead into the first corner, but Kidson clearly was able to fight back from pole position to take over the class lead again by the time they completed the first lap of racing. So this is the lead of the GRDC Cup element of the race, and they will now, of course, get to catch up to the G40 Cup field. So this is one of the lower levels of Ginetta racing, essentially. One of the great things about these Ginetta G40s is that you can use it to form your racing ladder right the way up. Ginetta, as they always used to say, can take you from junior racing at 14 years old to one-day race at Le Mans. Well, Ginetta no longer have an LMP1 prototype car, but they can still take you an awfully long way up the GT and sports car racing ladder, and the GRDC and G40 Cups are the entry level, really, and the G40 Cup in particular, the second year series, and it's the natural progression for drivers who have recently discarded those novice plates, and they get rid of those after they've competed in a season of the GRDC series. These cars are all road legal as well, although that car I don't think would pass an MOT anymore, that of Neil Wallace, but in theory they're all road legal Ginetta G40s, and they are it's a really cracking series, this, and a great entry level into motor racing. So the GRDC Cup for complete novices, and then the G40 Cup the next stage, and then after that, maybe a season or two in G40 Cup, you move up to the GT5 Challenge, which we saw racing earlier on today as well, which is the full sort of slick-shod, maximum horsepower G40 car, which is a real proper racing machine. There's the 199, one of those GRDC cars, Mark Lee, who is currently running at the back of the field, so 12th in class. Lights out, or lights on, excuse me, on the McLaren safety car, and it will be probably for at least one more lap, I would say, because we have still got quite a bit of recovery work to be done down at Abbey. former champions in this series, by the way. Well, the most recent champion was Tom Golding. He then took the step up to the GT5 Challenge. Michael Creese was the champion in 2017, and he now races on the British Touring Car Championship grid. He went and did a season in the GT4 Super Cup, which is for the Ginetta G55, even get my teeth in, which is the next level up from the G40, and that's is a support race to the BTCC. And then he now has a drive for Team Hard in the British Touring Car Championship. Richard Evans was the 2016 champ, and Rob Keogh, who is in the championship still, was the champion in 2015, won the first ever G40 Cup Championship. You win a free entry into the GT5 Challenge if you win the G40 Cup as well. So Rob Keogh presumably will be after that prize again here. If you finish second in the championship, you earn a half price entry as well, so it's a really good initiative. You can take the same car up with you as well, of course, because there is no difference really in cars. They tweak them sometimes, as I said, particularly from the junior levels of racing up to this more senior Ginetta G40 series. You are limited to 100 miles an hour top speed for any junior level Formula in the UK, but it's still the same car. They just limit the horsepower and limit the top speed. You can take exactly the same chassis and exactly the same engine right the way up to the GT5 Challenge, and that makes it a particularly cost-effective way of going racing at a fairly high level. So the third lap in the books, but sadly it is completed behind safety car, and we're going to be into the second half of the race, well into the second half of the race by the time we get the safety car in. Alistair Barkley is your race leader. Second place is Giles Dawson. Third, Rob Keogh. Fourth place, Chris Salkeld. Fifth is Roy Alderslade, who leads the Chairman's Cup. Sixth is number 14, which is Daniel Smith from 9th on the grid. 7th, number 44, Martin Wills, the second of the Chairman's Cup entrants. 8th is Justin Wandling. 9th place is number 8, Ian Duggan. Rounding out the top 10, Bill Forbes, number 6 in the GRDC. I made the point earlier on that Michael Kidson had held on to the lead from pole position, with Craig Cornick second. Into third position, though, has come Chris Threadgill from 5th on the grid, so he's gained 2 positions on the opening lap. Fourth place held by 143 Mark SANSOM, and 110, which is Harry Ormerod, rounds out the top 5 in GRDC. Shame this, these drivers have waited around all day for their one and only race today, their second race of the weekend. Both races taking place in dry conditions, but yesterday very overcast. There were still a few damp patches, I think, on the circuit. And the fastest lap was a 2 minutes 31.9. I would have imagined when we go racing again, we'll see that beaten in today's race, but it's a very different order at the front of the field. Rob Keogh, though, is making good progress through that order. Rob started race 1 from 4th on the grid, so didn't have quite as much overtaking to do in yesterday's encounter. But it matters little, really, because he's already gone from 8th on the grid to 3rd at the end of the opening lap, and was looking likely to move into 2nd place just when this safety car came out. That's the 188 car, which was Mark Allin. See the damage done to the front right corner. The 133 is almost on the back of the flatbed. Now, I'm ever the optimist. I reckon we might be able to go racing possibly this time, because we've got just less than half a lap left of this 4th lap of the race. The safety car laps are taking around 4 minutes, so they've got, therefore, just less than 2 minutes to get these cars out of the way, and I think it's only going to take them about another 15 seconds before the track is clear. And you imagine they would have picked up all of the debris as well from the outside Abbey corner, so we might be able to get racing back underway again at the end of this, the 4th lap of the race. Yesterday we got 10 laps in. That's not going to happen now, of course. We'll be looking to get 7, I think, in the duration of this 20-minute encounter. So we will hopefully see green flag conditions resume. We've got to get that flatbed truck out of the way, but it should be able to get off the circuit. It'll follow the field around for a little way and then find a gap in the barriers, possibly up towards the village and the loop. In fact, it's going backwards. It's going to go into the outside, the external access road that runs down past the old bridge corner. So do we have lights off on the safety car? I think we might do. Marshall's back in position. Field bunching up, weaving around, trying to get some heat into the tyres. And do those lights go out? Let's hope so. They won't really want to keep it out there for another lap, because as I said, a lap is taking the best part of 4 minutes, which would mean we'd have a 1-lap sprint for the checkered flag, which would be very entertaining, but we'd like to have a 2-lap sprint for the checkered flag, and that's what we're going to get, because, oh, well, it may even be 3 laps in the end, because we are about to get racing back underway with what will be just over 6 minutes left on the clock. A flying lap is just over 2.5 minutes, so yeah, I reckon we'll just squeeze 3 laps in, depending on how rapid this restart is for Alistair Barkley, the race leader. Let's see then as the field makes its way through Luffield corner. The speed will start to build back up once again. We'll keep our eyes on the GRDC contenders as well towards the back of the field, but at the head of the field is the 2 all-white cars of Alistair Barkley and Giles Dawson that make the break at the head of the field. Dawson sitting in the slipstream, trying to get the run towards Copse Corner. He will want to attack for the race lead if possible before Rob Keogh arrives back on his rear bumper, which is likely to happen before much longer. We know that Rob is quick. There's Salkeld 4th, 5th is Alderslade, still leading Cup contender, Chairman's Cup contender that is. And then here is Daniel Morris. Now this is another driver that this benefits, the blue and black number 31 car. As for the race lead, it was almost side by side, but yeah, Daniel Morris, having started from the pit lane, of course, he's gained some ground here. He's 18th place overall. I wonder whether or not he can get into the top 10. He should have the speed to do so. Daniel Morris 3rd in the championship going into this weekend. Finished yesterday's race 4th, so he'll still be very much in championship contention. Onto the hanger straight then, 5.5 minutes left on the clock, and Giles Dawson here in the tow, looking to try and pull alongside, pulls to the outside line into the braking zone. Is that selling the dummy maybe to the race leader, Alistair Barkley? Oh, he gets a bit out of shape, the second place man, as he turns into Stoke Corner. But you've got to be quite physical with these cars. They don't have a huge amount of downforce, so they need to be wrestled into the corners sometimes, particularly those high-speed turns. Then down on the brakes, down through the gears, through the left and the right at Vale and then Club, over the curbs for Alistair Barkley, the race leader. He's under all sorts of pressure here. He was getting away, remember, before the safety car came out, but Giles Dawson, who's just done the fastest first sector of anybody, straight off the restart, which is impressive, is harrying him. He's quicker through Abbey Corner. Look at that, he's less than a car length behind. In fact, he's going to be alongside. Is he through Farm? Can he get to the inside at Village? No. So Barkley moves over to the middle of the road to defend. The outside line is a viable option at Village, though, because it gives you the inside line for the loop, but that won't work either for Giles Dawson. And the trouble is, now that he's forcing the leader to defend, so it's holding them both up and allowing Rob Keogh to catch, and finally he's got the inside line. Giles Dawson going for it through Aintree Corner. It's flat out through here, though, and watch for the orange car of Keogh. He's got to run on the pair of them. He's certainly going to move into second place here. He might even challenge for the race lead. He's on the inside of Dawson. Barkley just about is able to get over to the inside to defend, and then sweeps back over to the racing line to get the best speed possible into Brooklands. So Barkley leads, but Keogh taking full advantage, moving to second place. Another great example there of how the car that is attacking for the race lead has to be so careful, because if that move doesn't work, the momentum that costs you could cost you positions, and it certainly has cost Giles Dawson second place. Chris Salkeld is with them as well now, so 4 cars for the race lead. As we go on to what will be the penultimate lap of the race then, with 3.5 minutes to go. Fastest lap set first by Rob Keogh, then by Salkeld in 4th, and Keogh's going up the inside for the race lead, is he? No, still can't quite make it work. So still the white car of Alistair Barkley leading the way, but this is turning into a typical Ginetta G40 slipstreaming race around the high-speed Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Through Maggots, through Beckett's, down towards Chapel. This wonderful sequence of corners that the drivers love, because you're hanging right on the edge there, right on the limit of adhesion. And Giles Dawson a bit quicker than Rob Keogh off Chapel, and so gets a run down the hanger straight. He's almost pushing Keogh down the straight now as he tries to... oh, in fact, there's an issue for Barkley. Has he just missed a gear? He's lost the race lead. Anyway, Keogh goes through, and Dawson into second place as well. So either a missed gear, or maybe just the fact that maybe those two were bump drafting each other down the back straight. Either way, they drove straight past the erstwhile race leader, and so Rob Keogh, the race 1 winner, is out in front with Giles Dawson second. And third position now for Alistair Barkley, and under pressure from Chris Salkeld, who was second in yesterday's race, the Assetto Motorsport run number 11 car, the white, black and purple machine just there. But that was a slightly strange run down the hanger straight then. I know that we say the slipstream is worth a lot, but Keogh was, if anything, slower than Barkley off Chapel. but pulled to the right-hand side and mirror signal manoeuvre, through he went. So Barkley down to third and doesn't seem to have the pace to stay with the leading two either, so I wonder if there's an issue developing in the Alistair Barkley car. First sector time is a personal best for Salkeld, in now still fourth position. Oh, race leader running wide there, and there's a spin for Skripo there, a bit further down the order. But yeah, the race leader went off, Rob Keogh. He ran really wide through Village and loses the lead, and he loses momentum onto the Wellington straight as well. That could allow Alistair Barkley to retaliate. So Giles Dawson takes full advantage of that mistake, and he is back out in front. Didn't quite see how that happened there to Rob Keogh. Just saw him get a bit out of shape, run a bit wide, and then we cut away as he was bouncing along the grass. But Barkley there, going around the outside at Brooklands, gets the inside for Luffield, and I think he's going to go through. Yes, he is. And Chris Salkeld tries to follow him. There's almost a bit of a rub. There is a bit of a rub between Salkeld and Keogh, the top two from race one. They finished race one just 0.4 of a second apart. They're probably even closer than that now on this occasion as they come through to start the final lap of the second race of the weekend. Here's a replay. So Rob Keogh, the orange number 35 car, turns through Village and the loop. Oh, just a bit too early on the throttle, got on the grass, and then the track keeps going left, and if you're on the grass it's hard to make the car go left, and he has to run straight onto the tarmac runoff area, runs so wide in the end that he loses the race lead and nearly second position. In fact, he did lose second position, didn't he, very briefly, but now he's back into second place, and he's taken Chris Salkeld through with him. So as we cut away to watch one replay, we might now need to dig out another one, because somewhere Rob Keogh is back into second position, Salkeld down to third, and Alistair Barkley, who was third, then he was second, and now he's fourth, all in the space of half a lap. This is the final lap of the race, though, and Rob Keogh, with the bit between his teeth, is now trying to chase down Giles Dawson, who had nearly a 1 second margin at the start of the lap. But Keogh, I would suggest, is reeling him in already on this lap in the first sector. Rob Keogh sets the outright fastest first sector, and the race leader outbreaks himself at Stowe Corner, and now will be under all sorts of pressure into Vale. Keogh looks to the inside, can't do it, looks to the outside, can't quite do it either, I don't think, and Giles Dawson, by the skin of his teeth, will hang on, but it was a new outright fastest first sector for Keogh, 46.422. He was closing in the slipstream as well, and he's now on the inside again into the second part of Club Corner. But look at this, the defensive driving by the race leader holds them both up and brings Chris Salkeld back into play. Salkeld up the inside now into Abbey Corner, and I think he will retake that second position. Fascinating racing this, as one move fails, it opens the door for another move maybe behind, and now we've got Alistair Barkley also trying to buy into all of this. Goes to the outside of Keogh through Village, looking for the inside of the loop, which he might just have. Keogh's trying to shut the door, but there's no way to do it. Barkley goes through. Keogh with the wide line in, takes the tight line out, then gets back up the inside. Salkeld's all over the curb. No one wants to finish in second place in this race, it would seem, but they all want to try and win it, and in their desperation to get to the leader first, they've tripped over each other sufficiently that I think they've handed this to Giles Dawson, who heads down the back straight then towards the left-hander at Brooklands. Chris Salkeld closing in though, has a dive up the inside, surely not close enough, no he isn't, and so Giles Dawson will hang on through Brooklands. One more corner to go. It was a really close finish yesterday. It's going to be an equally close one, if not even closer here in race two, because Chris Salkeld carries a lot of momentum off the corner. Immediately the race leader moves over to defend Giles Dawson. It's going to be side by side. Get the photo finish camera ready. I think Chris Salkeld might be able to do it. Right around the outside, he nicks it on the line. Chris Salkeld with a phenomenal last lap. That was incredible for Salkeld. He was in fourth place for most of that race, and out of absolutely nowhere on the final lap, moves through to take the race victory by, in the end, 1.5 tenths. He actually completely cleared Dawson and pulled across in front of him as they hit the checkered flag. So Salkeld with the win, Dawson second, who is still waving and I think rather enjoyed that battle. Rob Keogh comes home third and scores some good championship points, and he beats, crucially, his big rival Alistair Barkley. So the two of them, who arrived here 21 points apart in Barkley's favour, Keogh has beaten him now in both races. He was first in race one and third in race two, and Barkley was third in race one and was fourth in race two. So some good points taken out of him there by Rob Keogh. But Chris Salkeld, with one of the best moves we've seen all day, took a lot of speed out of Luffield, and the decision was taken immediately by Giles Dawson to move to the right-hand side of the road coming out of the tight right-hander, but that jink across to the right-hand side just lost him all of his momentum, and Salkeld didn't even need the slipstream in the end. He just pulled to the left, kept the car in a relatively straighter line through Woodcote, and got to the line first. So brilliant racing there from the Ginetta G40 Cup. By the way, in 7th position, Ian Duggan wins the Chairman's Cup from Roy Alderslade by just under a second, with Sean Fleming in 10th position overall, 3rd in class. The GRDC element of the race was won from pole position by Michael KIDSON by 1.4 seconds in the end over Mark SANSOM though. So SANSOM got into 2nd and THREADGEL 3rd. So what happened to Craig Cornick? He dropped down to 8th somewhere, so there were some real changes in the GRDC part of the race as well. There is Ian Duggan, who is, as I said, your Chairman's Cup race winner in car number 8 by a reasonably slender margin. That number 8 machine that was in the top 10 again, started this race in Duggan 13th on the grid. Yesterday, he was some way down the order. He was only 8th in class and 16th overall, so that's a really impressive run that from Duggan. Roy Alderslade, though, will maintain his championship advantage. He arrived here at Silverstone 17 points ahead of Martin Wills. Where did Wills end up? 4th in class is the answer. So yeah, that will definitely extend the championship margin. Here's confirmation of the result then from what was a sensational race when we got there after the safety car. Chris Salkeld with a sensational move on the final corner to take the race victory. Giles Dawson is 2nd, Rob Keogh 3rd, Alistair Barkley 4th, and Daniel Smith in 5th. Daniel Morris was 6th. Ian Duggan, Roy Alderslade, Bill Forbes and Sean Fleming to round out the top 10. Then it was Martin Wills from pole position, finished 11th in the end. Justin Watling 12th, Lee Goldsmith, excuse me, in 13th, Gary Wager 14th, and Robin Grimwood to round out the top 15. Ian Duggan in 7th place won the Chairman's Cup. GRDC Cup was won in 20th place in the end by Michael KIDSON from 2nd place in class Mark Sanson, and 3rd place for Chris THREADGEL, 4th place for Harry Ormerod, and rounding up the top 5 in the end was Toby Trice in the 122 car. Well, a brilliant race it was, the action kicking off right from the word go as the field poured down towards Copse Corner, a big grid of 36 cars across 3 different classes, and the racing was equally fierce amongst them all. There's Ian Duggan, the blue number 8 car, who was going around the outside of Copse Corner, the eventual Chairman's Cup winner. Chris Salkeld had little that he could do to keep Rob Keogh at bay. Keogh was carving through the order from 8th on the grid, and he was into 3rd place in the early stages. Salkeld appeared to be fading in the early stages of the race, briefly outside the top 5. There was contact at Abbey Corner though. Neil Wallace spun and was collected at very high speed by Mark Allin. The resulting debris and cars at the side of the road meant the safety car was called for. When it came in, we had a 3-lap sprint to the flag and multiple lead changes and positional changes within the top 3. It was Alistair Barkley and Giles Dawson who were doing battle initially off the restart. As they delayed each other, Rob Keogh bought into it, moved into 2nd position and set off after Alistair Barkley. Chris Salkeld had recovered to 4th and was chasing them down. Keogh got the lead briefly for half a lap, then threw it off at Village and dropped back down into 2nd position. That allowed Giles Dawson through. Keogh then set to it with Alistair Barkley, with Chris Salkeld still keeping a watching brief in 4th position. As they went towards Maggots and Beckett, Keogh managed to stay in front. Salkeld was into 3rd position and then got into 2nd before chasing down the race leader and taking the victory by a 1/10.5 on the line. Some sensational racing here at Silverstone from the Ginetta G40s.